Hi everyone, today we're on a summer trip with Dundee University, visiting the Wallace Monument and Stirling Castle. Stay tuned to enjoy the beauty of Scotland and get some travel tips along the way. Our route takes us through beautiful countryside scenery. We've arrived at the Wallace Monument car park and are now heading to the historic Wallace Monument. The Wallace Monument is just outside Stirling and is signposted from the city centre and the A91. You can easily reach Stirling by train, with regular services from Edinburgh and Glasgow. Frequent buses to the monument run from Goosecroft Road, across from Stirling Railway Station. Thus routes 52 and UL stop right outside the monument. As we approach the Wallace Monument, you can really feel the history that surrounds this iconic landmark. Standing tall above Stirling, the Wallace Monument offers not just a glimpse into Scotland's past, but also breathtaking views of the surrounding landscape. To reach the top of the Wallace Monument, you'll need to climb 246 steps. We're making our way up the steps to reach the Queen's View, where a spectacular vista awaits us. As you climb the Wallace Monument, you'll pass through three main galleries. 1. The Hall of Arms ***. This gallery shows the story of William Wallace and the Battle of Stirling Bridge, with displays of weapons and armour. 2. The Hall of Heroes ***. Here, you can see statues of Scotland's national heroes, including the famous Wallace sword. 3. The Royal Chamber ***. This gallery gives insight into Wallace's legacy and his impact on Scottish history. Each gallery offers a deeper understanding of Scotland's past as you make your way to the top. The climb to the top is worth every step, with panoramic views that make you feel like you're on top of the world. The Wallace Monument is not just about the stunning views. It's a tribute to Sir William Wallace, a key figure in Scotland's fight for independence. The monument honours his role in leading Scotland during the 13th century. Let's take a moment to appreciate the stunning details of the monument, each stone telling a story of bravery and freedom. From the top of the Wallace Monument, you're treated to a stunning 360-degree view of the surrounding landscape. You can see for miles in every direction, taking in the rolling hills, the city of Stirling, and the River Forth winding through the countryside. It's a truly breathtaking panorama that gives you a unique perspective on the beauty of Scotland. For a moment, you'll forget the whole world as you lose yourself in the breathtaking view. Take in the beauty of the lush green landscapes all around you. After enjoying the stunning panoramic view, we'll head down to our next destination. De Wallace Monument was an unforgettable memory for us. We were lucky to listen to a volunteer in traditional attire share Scotland's great history with us at the Wallace Monument.
The day, if you're quite close by, keep a check on the kind of local media, and you'll see there's plenty of things on throughout this year of celebrations for it's been 900th year of Stirling. So we'll start with the Battle of Stirling Bridge that took place at the foot of this hill. This hill is called Abbey Craig, and it took place kind of between where we are now and the river. So it's this side of the river is the north shore, and that's very important into the outcome of the battle, as you'll find out. But the battle itself took place on the 11th day of September in the year of our Lord 1297. That was when William Wallace led us, the Scottish army, down this hill to face the might of the English army led by a man called John de Warenne, who was the Earl of Surrey. And despite the Scots being greatly outnumbered, Scotland won! Yay! And we weren't fighting for gold, we didn't fight for glory, we fought for freedom! Thank you. Freedom, indeed. Freedom from the brutal rule of an English king. Right? We took advantage of our own king's untimely and unexpected death. Now, the English king was, you know, Edward I. We called him Longshanks because he had long shanks, right? So Longshanks, the English king, Edward I, he was the king, and he took advantage of our own king's death. Now that was Alexander III, and he was a fine king. He ruled Scotland for almost 40 years. He started out when he was a wee boy. He was king of Scotland, and he was a good king. Under his rule, Scotland was at peace, we prospered. In fact, he was good friends with Longshanks and married Edward's sister. So our queen was Queen Margaret. She was Edward's sister. But sadly, she dies. Just a young woman, she dies. It's a sad story. She dies, both her sons die, and the daughter, she dies too. Now, when Alexander III died, it's a tragic story. He fell off his horse, which never sounds terribly dramatic, does it? But his horse was on top of a cliff at the time, and it was in the middle of a storm. He was going home to his new young wife, die without a male heir. Now that was I'm sorry ladies, that's how, it's not much better now, is it? Still how it works, isn't it? No male heir, that was bad news. And he had only one surviving heir, was his granddaughter. Right? His own daughter had married Eric of Norway, and she died not long after having given birth to a wee baby girl called Margaret, and she's known as Margaret the Maid of Norway. So that was Alexander III's granddaughter, and she was his only surviving heir. So our nobles met up with Eric of Norway and Edward of England to discuss what would be the best thing for Scotland, and they decide the best thing is bring the wee girl here. She can be looked after till she's old enough, and she'd go on to become Queen of Scots. Now, she's only about 3 years old when Alexander dies. When she's about 7, they put her on a boat to come to Scotland, but disaster strikes again. It's not a very happy story, this, is it? She takes ill on the journey and dies when the ship's tied up in the harbour at Orkney. We've been waiting for years for this wee girl to come. We need a king fast now, dangerous, no one on the throne. So the nobles now decide anyone who could trace their bloodline back to King David I, so they could lay claim to the throne of Scotland, and 13 legitimate claimants came forward. Chaos! 13 folk all wanting to be king. Well, that was never going to work, was it? So to stop all the fighting and arguing that's going on between them, our nobles in their wisdom invite the King of England, Edward Longshanks, to come and decide who should be King of Scotland. How does that sound? It sounds a bit mad, doesn't it? But remember, he'd been our old king's friend and brother-in-law, so our nobles thought it was a good idea. They thought at the very least he would be fair, wouldn't he? Wouldn't he? Aye, right. Who does he choose? He chooses the weakest one of the 13, John Balliol. See, I think he chose Balliol because he thought, if I get a weak king in Scotland, he'll bend the knee to England, and he was expecting Balliol just to hand over Scotland's land and wealth to him like this on a silver platter. But Balliol turned out to be not as weak as Edward was hoping for, and he starts to revive Scotland's old alliance Have you heard of that? The old alliance between the Scots and the French, thank you. An educated audience, that always scares me. So. Now, forgive me if I get this bit wrong, but the English king never liked the French, did he? Didn't like them. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Nothing wrong with the French in my book. But Longshanks comes along and commands Balliol to raise a Scottish army to fight for England against the French, and Balliol says no. But the English king didn't like being refused. Oh no, no he doesn't. So to teach the Scots a lesson, he sends his army north and attacks the Scots and slaughters 8,000 Scots. 8,000. Now, this isn't a big battle like the battle that happens down here in 1297. There is no battle. None. It's a massacre of innocent people on the streets of Berwick and the surrounding area. It's a bloodbath, really. In fact, it's still the worst atrocities seen on these islands to the present day. In response, Balliol does now raise a Scottish army, but not to fight the French. To fight the English, but, as is quite common in our history, we are defeated, soundly beaten at Dunbar, and after that, I'm sure you can guess, Balliol, well, he's hooked, isn't he? Exiled, imprisoned. Kind of what you'd expect. What I didn't expect, though, was 2,000 of our nobles and clergy would vow surrender and pledge their allegiance to the King of England. Just so you're clear, that's our own people doing this. And now, Edward, the Hammer of the Scots, a title that he got and quite relishes, I think. Well, he sent English soldiers and magistrates to run every town and village throughout the whole of Scotland to enforce English law on the Scottish people. And of course to pay English taxes too. So does that sound fair? Thanks. I like to get an impartial voice, so thanks for that. And this isn't meant to get all political now, that's not what this is about, it really isn't. It's just to explain what Scotland was like up to a year before the Battle of Stirling Bridge that happened down there in 1297. To recap, our army's just been destroyed, our king's in exile, and we're an occupied nation, but in the space of a year, somebody comes along and turns Scotland's fortunes completely around now. I hope that's a big enough clue. A year before the Battle of Stirling Bridge, no one had heard of William Wallace. Everyone's heard of him now, haven't they? William Wallace was born in a wee village in the west of Scotland, it's called Elderslie. He was the second son. That just means he would grow up knowing he was unlikely going to inherit land or money. Wouldn't go to him, it'd go to his big brother. And William was clever, an educated man, studying hard to become a priest. Let that sink in. I could be about to tell you a completely different story if things had worked out for William Wallace. And I often wonder how many people would trudge up this hill to listen to somebody tell me a story about a priest. I don't know. And maybe William Wallace would have been a good priest. I mean, his heart was in the right place. But come on. I mean, I wouldn't say it to his face, but he was a man with a quick and violent temper, you know. Always in trouble for fighting the English soldiers persecuting his fellow countrymen. And he gathered like-minded people around him, and we began attacking English convoys on their supply routes. William Wallace went out of his way to make a nuisance of himself to the English king, so that Edward declares William Wallace outlaw, wants him arrested. And they knew William was hiding out at his father-in-law's house in Lanark. So they sent the sheriff of Lanark and his soldiers along to the house and set the house on fire. Right, if William's there, he's going to come out, isn't he? The house is on fire, you're going to run. But William, well, he wasn't there that day, but his wife Marion was. Now she ran, but Heselrigg, that was the name of the sheriff, he seized the house and ordered his soldiers to have her grabbed, had her thrown back into the burning house. She dies in the fire. It's horrible. When William Wallace hears this news, he's now in a rage. He gathers 30 men, probably everybody he could find, marches up to the English garrison at Lanark, boards up the English soldiers in their barracks. You know what's coming, don't you? Sets them on fire. Some of them escape, but he's not worried about them, no, because he's after one man, Heselrigg. Oh aye, hunts him down, drags him to the centre of town, and in front of the good people of Lanark assembled there, William Wallace kills him. Now that's a fact. We can't deny it happened. William Wallace kills Hesselrig, the Sheriff of Lanark. But we know why he's done it, don't we? Don't we? Revenge. But now to the English, William Wallace is just a murdering, treacherous Scot, isn't he? Well, they're the worst kind of Scots you can find, aren't they? Those murderous, treacherous ones. Oh, you want to stay well clear of them. And here's where I have a bit of a problem, because to us Scottish, William Wallace is a hero, isn't he? Isn't he? Yeah. Oh, I think so. I think you could safely say this is built to a hero. So how can he be both at the same time? Is it just two sides of the same coin? Am I missing something? Is it as simple as that? I think it is, isn't it? I think that must happen all the time. Just depends which side you're on. Anyway, more and more people joined William Wallace in the fight to free Scotland from English rule. And we'd attacked the English convoys, their garrisons in Scotland, the north of England. And this ill feeling around the English rule of Scotland was so strong, it wasn't just William Wallace that people followed. In the far north, they followed Andrew de Moray. He was one of the last loyal nobles of Scotland. And William Wallace and de Moray met for the first time at the Siege of Dundee, where Scrymgeour and his men, that was who people followed in the east, Scrymgeour and his men had Dundee surrounded, trying to win it back from the English control. And I was with William Wallace and his men at the Siege of Dundee, and we'd only really arrived there when news arrived by messenger that the King of England had already sent his army north, under the command of the Earl of Surrey, to put an end to the Scottish rebellion. Well, Wallace and de Moray, they conferred and agreed, leave Scrymgeour and his men at Dundee, they've got the siege well in hand, but let's join our forces together to make up one big army. And they marched us here, to this hill in Stirling called the Abbey Craigo. Here's where we waited and prepared to face the English in a battle for our freedom. Why here? Well, because the English were over there. Through the trees, you should be able to see Stirling Castle. That's where the English were. They'd taken the castle. So from this high ground, a vantage point, we could see everything our enemy was doing. Now that's an advantage, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh, aye. The downside is, we could see how many of them were here. Oh, I'd never seen that number of people in the same place at the same time in my life. Oh, the English army, they were a fearsome sight. William Wallace looked at us, come on, a ragtag band of an army, and the English army, well-trained fighting soldiers, he knew we would be afraid. So he comes and he says, listen, don't worry, because I've got a plan and it's simple. Here's what I want you to do. When the English soldiers come over the wee bridge onto this side of the river, don't get excited, run down the hill and trying to get into a fight straight away. No, hold. Hold your position here on the hill until I give you the order to charge. Hold. So that's what we would have. You just waited here. Now, from here, we could see the English start to line up and they began to cross the bridge. Over they come, two abreast. It's just a wee narrow wooden bridge. But for some reason, they stopped and they all start marching back again. We cheered. Cheerio, cheerio, cheerio. And it was only after the battle we discovered it was the Earl of Surrey had slept in. Aye, poor old chap was having a long lie. And then said he needed his breakfast before he'd come and slaughter any Scots that day. A second time they lined up, but this time they sent over monks, holy men, and they marched into the camp demanding to speak to William Wallace. They offered them land, titles, and loads of money just to withdraw us from the field of battle. William Wallace was disgusted by them and their bribery. He told them this, he said, I didn't come here to be bought. I came here to free this country. And although we're outnumbered, we would rather be dead on our feet than live one moment longer on our knees. That's how we all felt. And he sent them packing. So for the third time that day we waited and watched the English line up. Now this time it took a while. My guess was about 2,000 English foot soldiers came over. A couple of hundred heavy horse as well. You see the size of their army? Oh, there's the same number again, maybe more on the far side, still slowly marching onto the wee bridge. But by now we could see William's plan was going to work. See, he told us, you see. he believed that the English soldiers with all their weapons and their armour and their heavy horse, you know what a heavy horse is? I thought they were fat horses, they're not. They've got armour on them, right? And he said they'll all be useless on the waterlogged marshland that lies on this side of the river. Oh, guy, he says, they'll hardly be able to move. Never mind charge the spear when he was going to position to close off that loop in the river there. That's why he told us to vote. And we could see for ourselves when they came over, they were flopping about, floundering in the causeway of the river. And when they finally scrambled up into this side, the north shore, the marshland, well, they could hardly keep their feet. But only when William Wallace saw that the English army were well and truly stuck in the mud, and their slow advance was stopping the ones on the far side from getting off the bridge, only then did they give us the order to charge, and we ran down this hillside, ripping right and left to their claymores and their axes. I wish you'd been there to see it. Oh, aye. Oh, listen, it was a bonny, bonny sight now. The ferocity of our attack took the English by surprise, and they turned and fled, running, trying to get back over the bridge again, but I've told you, haven't I? They're already still advancing onto the bridge, so the bridge is blocked. The spearmen, they've closed the loop in the river, whereas they're left now for the soldiers to run. Well, they're trying to cross, so they run to the river, and hundreds of them drowned, dragged down by the weight of their own armour, and their heavy horse too. Some of the horses crashed into the bridge, just a wee narrow wooden bridge, never built for that kind of weight. It starts to creak and groan. Yeah, William Wallace hears this, and he's a clever man. He sends their archers down, has them fire burning arrows in the wooden bridge. It's soon ablaze. Before long, it's totally destroyed. So now the English on this side, they're trapped. And on the far side, doesn't matter now really how many.
Hope you enjoyed the trip. Don't forget to subscribe to see more of Scotland's beautiful scenery. Please leave a comment with your thoughts. Thanks for watching.